we're still in the midst of the international break. But of course, we want to talk about Arsenal. We're joined by AFC James to discuss how the Gunners have done in the first part of the season, what have been the good and bad points of our season so far, and what should we expect from the next few games. Sami Mokbel of the BBC broke the news earlier today that Martin Odegaard will be out for at least until the end of November international break. We're going to look at the impact of this injury on our title challenge. The club are assessing their option in regards to the expansion of the Emirates Stadium. Is this really needed? And what do we think about the options for renovation? We've got lots to talk about on episode 21 of Red Lines and Half Spaces. Welcome to episode 21 of Red Lines Half Spaces. Oh my God, we're in the international break. It's so boring. So boring. I can't take this anymore. So I need someone to liven this up. And there's only one person we could go. Well, actually, we've got two people. I'll start with my co-host first. My lovely co-host, Joe. Joe, how was that one? Come on.
They're getting better, mate. Week by week, you're getting better and better at this. So
I can become a game show. Will I get game show host status eventually?
I don't think we're at that phase yet. Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You're at phase one of the rebuild currently. So let's give it a few more years, then you might be further down the line.
Oh, okay. And then joining us is a Twitter legend. If you do not know his content, where have you been? He has been on so many podcasts, I can't even count it on my fingers. Obviously, I have 10 fingers, but there's more. He's done loads of them. He has been on Latte Firm, No Ratings, Canon podcast, everywhere. He's been, he's one of the very knowledgeable people in Arsenal Twitter. It is AFC James. James, how you doing, my friend?
That is a very generous introduction. I'm not sure about very knowledgeable, just very persistent. But I'm not sure about.
I like that.
Twitter
very
is a space
persistent.
where if you're persistent, you often will make your way to the top, and that is what I have done for the past 5 years.
No, but you've been persistent. I will caveat this by saying you're persistent in a good way. There is persistency on Twitter in a bad way, where it's just coming up on your feed every 2 minutes with just drivel. Your one is, I like, we got to know each other.
Yeah, I do try and be persistently slightly good. I'm not. There's plenty more people out there who produce better content, but I make sure you will always see it. So thank you for your introduction. It's a pleasure to be invited on here. And mate, I was impressed by your introduction. Also, you're a natural. And
thank you.
I can't imagine where you've learnt it from.
Do you know what? I learned it from the best like yourself, mate. Not from Faisal. Come on, please. If I did it from him, then he'd get a bigger head than he already has, and that head is just as big as it is already and shining too much. Faisal, if you're out there, I'm dissing you for the right reasons. Guys, we are in the international break. It is, as I said, really dull. I mean, how are you finding the international break, James? How do you cope with it? Do you like international break, or are you kind of the opinion like us where this is dull, I want to get back to club football, this is so boring, I'm not interested at all?
No, I don't watch any football over the international break. I watched some of the England game, but also kind of nowadays the England games I'm watching hoping our players don't get injured. It used to be quite a novelty when we had so many players in the England team, and we were like, really hoping our guys will do well. Hopefully they play the full 90s. Now I'm like, hopefully they don't play the full 90s. Hopefully they get rested, and hopefully they're all sweet. And that they have been. The England players, Timber has played 2 games for the Netherlands, etc., etc. They all seem fine so far, fingers crossed. So that is what I consider successful international break. As long as our players get through it scot-free, I don't really care what happens.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. Joe, are you? I mean, is it just injury watch and nothing else? Just making sure that nothing happens to our players?
Do you know what, mate? For me, it's not even that anymore. Like, that used to be my thing. Like, I say, I'll just have a quick watch and just make sure everyone's all right. But I found that too stressful. So now I've just gone, do you know what? I'm going to completely ignore everything that's going on. And once the internationals are over, so what are we today? Monday. So maybe about sort of like Thursday,
Thursday.
I'll
Yeah.
sort of log back in and I'll just see the state of affairs. Like Arteta's press conference will be the start of my reintegration to football.
What, when we go, it's all over. Someone's got injured.
When he comes out and says, yeah, we've had 17 players back, about 15 got injuries. But other than that, we're looking good. No, just no, like James said, it seems like everyone's kind of doing all right and
How many more
no
tests
injuries,
would
touch wood as yet. So
England have got to
I
play?
think we're nearly there now, aren't we? I think there's only a couple of games to go.
I think there's a couple of games to go. Yeah, I think so. So I think we're getting to the end of it. So far, so good. Although Liverpool have maybe got some concerns, which is, I wish no ill on Liverpool players, but it is what it is, you know.
Equally, do you not find that, like... Sorry, go on, James.
Just on the topic of like injuries and players being pulled out, Chelsea Football Club this international break have been absolutely despicable. They withdrew Reece James, Caicedo didn't travel, Enzo got pulled back early. Half of their players just pulled them all away, so they haven't been able to get injured. It's just, I don't know,
It's
what's
what
the
I'd
point
like
in
to see as
international
well.
breaks if
Why are
some
we- why-
teams just go,
why are we not doing this?"
None of our players are going to play. It bothers me.
I want that as well. I want us to be cute at least and say, "Oh, he got a little foot injury, can't make it. What a shame." You know,
No, Rice broke his back, and we're like, "Yeah, off you go,
No.
mate."
He could be dead leg. You know, you could have a broken leg and they'll go, "Yeah, it's fine to go. It's fine to go." He can go. Martin Erdegaard literally had his shoulder falling off, and they said he's called up. Yeah, he's going to have to play. And look what happened to him then.
But we've been saying this for years, haven't we? I remember when Fergie used to pull all the United players out, and we'd be like, "Why are we not doing that?" Man United have pulled Beckham, Neville, Keane, Giggs, Andy Cole, Sherritt, all out of the squad, and we'll go, "Oh yeah, you can have all our players, not a problem."
We don't get anything out of it.
I think we've been behind in that sort of aspect for a long time. I think.
I thought Arteta would be the mastermind of this. He does like these little cute things occasionally. I thought he'd do it, but hey ho, here we are.
It might be coming.
Here we are. Right, so gentlemen, what we're going to cover today is kind of like the October half-term report. I'm a kid with. I'm a dad.
You're a kid.
With a kid in.
I'm
a big kid. Yeah, we all know this already. But I've got a child in school, and obviously we're talking about the half-term coming up. So that's going to be interesting, obviously, for all those parents out there. But obviously, in terms of Arsenal, we've got through this first period, which we all knew was going to be a very tough period when we looked at the fixture list. So I want to take a look at that, get both of your thoughts on how we've navigated this period, how it sets us up for the next period, and then we'll look ahead. We're also going to then talk about, unfortunately, an injury which has happened. We found out the timeline more or less, and we're going to talk about that impact. And then we're going to talk about the potential renovation of the Emirates. So let's get going. In terms of our start to the Premier League, I'm going to go through the results, and then what I'd like from both of you, and we'll get this going, is to discuss your big moment from these games, or big takeaway from these games that have come up. Who's been the best player in this period? Again, this is not about the overall season, obviously, but who have you been impressed with, or maybe is an underrated player for this one? Are there any concerns for this period that we have to address? What changes does Arteta need to make? And then your favourite goal. I know that's a lot to take in, but have a think about it while I go through the matches, okay? So we started the season, very difficult away trip to Old Trafford. I know people think that Man United are our team on decline. Maybe they are, but Old Trafford is never easy. 1-0 with the Calafiori goal. We then followed it up with our first game at the Emirates, 5-0 beating Leeds. Very, very good performance there. The hard games kept coming when we went to Anfield away, and we went down, unfortunately, to a Dominic Szoboszlai free kick. Fabulous free kick, and obviously, not the ideal result, but we can talk about some of the points from there. We then came back home and beat Nottingham Forest, a newly managed Nottingham Forest with Ange Postecoglou coming in.
Not for
and
long.
Beat them 3-0. And then our champions, I know, we'll talk about that in a minute. Then we started our Champions League campaign with a good 2-0 victory against Athletic Club de Bilbao. Then we came back home for one of the first big games at the Emirates, which was obviously we played Man City, which we drew. Last minute goal from Martinelli. But obviously there are some takeaways from that in terms of how we set up. Then we started our Carabao Cup campaign with a 2-0 away at Port Vale. Okay, and then we had another hard game where we came back and won the game in the last minute with a Gabriel slamming header against Newcastle 2-1. And then our Champions League campaign continued with a 2-0 victory over Olympiacos at the Emirates. And the last result before the internationals was a 2-0 win against West Ham. James, let's start with you. This was a really hard start, wasn't it? When we went into this into this period, we knew this is going to be a big test of our mettle. How would you assess how we've done overall so far for you in terms of what you thought at the start, looking at the fixtures and going, this is not easy and all that, to where we are now? How have you assessed where we are?
I've been very, very happy with how we've started, and I think also something that we can caveat is when we saw this fixture list, we didn't know that Havertz was going to be injured, Saka, Ødegaard, all of these players were going to be out injured. So the fact that we're top of the league and with a very respectable return from those games, having suffered all this adversity, shows that, I've often used this expression before, but that is our flaw. And if our flaw, with all of those injuries, with also probably some poor decisions from Arteta in a few games, we've learned from that, and now we've seen that we're kind of out the other side. Is it 16 points from a total of 21?
Yeah, 16 from 21. So we dropped 2, obviously dropped 3 at Liverpool, dropped 2 at Man City.
Yeah. So considering the places we've been, the teams we've played, I think that's a very, very respectable return. And I think the teething process of, because people will say Gyökeres needed to adapt, etc. More importantly, the team needed to adapt to Gyökeres because there were a lot of changes this team has made in terms of we wanted to become more transitional. And that teething process, kind of, I acknowledged it before the start of the season, wasn't going to be easy, and particularly so when we've got that horrible fixture list. So we've gone through that teething process of transforming as a team a little bit, and with those fixtures, and are still top of the league. So that's a huge, huge success for me. And I'm very, very excited for what is to come now, considering this is, as I say, our baseline. So for me, I'm delighted with our start, but I think there is a lot more to come from us, which is also where this excitement comes from. How about you?
Yeah, Joe. So what do you, to add on to that point, Joe, where are you with this? Are you as happy as James with where we've netted out? Do you think it's a teething process with, we've got Zubamendi, we've got Gyökeres, who are first teamers. Eze's a first teamer, really, because he's been playing so much because of the injury situation. As James mentioned, we've got key injuries. These are not like small injuries. Madueke was a standout performer before he got cruelly with that cruel injury. Saka's been out and has only had really a couple of games back. So are you in the same camp as James that we've done really well with this first period to navigate these hard games, injuries, and these teething problems?
Absolutely. I think James is hitting the nail on the head, to be fair. Like, we kind of discussed on the last show we did, that we're 2 points better off from the corresponding fixtures last year.
Yeah,
I think
2 points better. 2 points better off.
So yeah, we kind of said that we obviously needed to fix up in the games like the West Hams and Newcastle away, and obviously we've got Palace and Fulham coming up. Those are the sort of games where we kind of lost the league last year. Like, it wasn't the big games because we've done so well in them. So they're the ones we need to improve in. So to be 2 points better off than we were last year from corresponding fixtures, I think points to good progress. And I think, obviously, given the fixtures that we had at the start, if you'd have said after 7 games you'll have won 5 of them, drawn 1, lost 1, I think pretty much every fan would have bitten your hand off for that, to be honest. I don't think you could really, realistically, I know you'd want to win all 7, but I think the chance of it happening was slim. So to have only sort of slipped up in 2 of the games, I think is really good. And even if you took away kind of the results and all that sort of stuff, and if you said to someone, don't worry about the results, but after these set of games, you're going to be top of the league by a point, you'd be fine. Absolutely, yeah. Bite your hand off for that as well. So, yeah, I think we're in a really good position. I don't think we've really got going yet. I don't think we've played a game yet where I've sat back and gone, wow, like everything's clicking. Like we still seem to be sort of feeling out what we're doing, where we're headed, how we want to play, sort of that kind of thing. So to be top of the league in a position, like James said, with the injuries we've had, with the amount of players we've been missing, to be still building the team and new players into the team and how we're going to play moving forwards, I don't think anyone could be unhappy with where we are. To be top of the league by a point, and I only really see us getting better from here. I
Just
think
to
you'll see a more. Go on, James.
just to quickly jump in on this, it's also interesting that there's all this talk about how it's Liverpool's transitional year, and we've just spoken about how we're going through a big transition too. They're not the only ones. We're having this transition and the injuries, and all the media's talking about, Liverpool have signed loads of new players. No, they've spent 400 million on top of a title-winning side. Like, the fact that Arsenal don't seem to be getting the credit doesn't bother me, but it's an interesting one that actually Liverpool are getting these excuses and no one else.
Well, let's just pull on that thread a little bit, James. Why are we so only recently, after the West Ham game and after the run of Liverpool's losses, for the first time Liverpool have strung together 3 losses in a row, and are people talking about it's Arsenal's title to lose? I think that's just, again, media hype and etc., because it's too early in the season and Liverpool's still a fabulous team. But why is it that there has been so much noise on Liverpool's they're in a transition year now? Why are the excuses coming out, whereas we don't have that excuse apparently now? We have it's Arsenal's year, it must be our year. Is it that we've got as many players, we've probably got more players actually, we've brought in more players than Liverpool have in terms of net new players, isn't it? Why is the media hyping this up, James, in terms of Liverpool are in the transition year? Is this excuse making? Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, of course it's excuse making. But if you reverse the roles and it was Arsenal who'd won the title and spent 400 million, there's absolutely no way we'd get given these excuses. Now, the problem is the position we're in, we haven't won a title and we haven't won a Champions League. So we're not in a position to make these hypotheticals and to say if Arsenal, because the instant rebuttal is, well, you haven't. So at the moment, we've just got to swallow it. We've just got to take all of that's coming our way because we don't have this point towards the Premier League title. And when we do, then people will not be able to speak on our name the way they do. But right now, it's very easy to create narratives against Arsenal because we don't have a leg to stand on. We're still nearly men. Once we're no longer nearly men, we won't take shit from anyone because people will be terrified. And I think that is a lot of the reason why these narratives come about, because people are trying to get their kicks in while they can, because they know that when we do win a title, there's not going to be a lot you can say because everything about this project is moving in the right direction. So you can't knock our recruitment, you can't knock our... And yeah, people will take sly digs, but like this nearly men. But when we win a title in the Champions League, we're going to be having some serious conversations about where this project is going and the potential. It's very early to say this, but the potential dynasty, because there are several world-class players in this team, all of pre-prime age.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's we're in this period where we are in a good place, where we've got the team, I feel, to really sustain the challenge. Last year, Joe, we knew where our biggest problem was: the injuries. As soon as we were blighted by injuries, that was it. We knew the title was over. We really did give it our best, didn't we? We played with Marino up front, and we did well. We got to the Champions League semi-final with good organisation and a robust defence. But we always knew that we would be undone, especially after the January window, what happened there. Is it different this year, Joe? Are we, even with the injuries that James has mentioned, we've lost Havertz, we've lost Ødegaard, we've lost Madueke. Is it still Arsenal's title to lose? Or are you still, in the opinion, a lot of people made Liverpool the favourites rightly again this year. But is it a case that, yes, we're good and we're going to be there, but Liverpool is still the team to beat? Where are you sitting at the moment after this first period?
Well, I think Liverpool are champions, so they're the team to beat for me straight away. Like, I don't understand this whole it's Arsenal's to lose. I think, well, no, it's Liverpool's to lose because they're the champions. Like, I don't understand why you're saying it's ours to lose. I almost sometimes think, kind of jumping onto James's point, is that it's almost like the media love to sort of say it's Arsenal to lose, to sort of pile the pressure on and almost kind of derail us. And then when it all has fallen apart, obviously, as it has done the last couple of seasons, everyone can then just get kicks out of it and sort of just talk shit against us, basically. Apologies for the language, I couldn't think of a more
There's a big
suitable
E now.
word. But,
There's a big
you
E
bring that
now
up for
next
me.
to our thing. Now I have to press the explicit button now.
I'm sorry, I'll give you a bit of work to do. But no, I mean, Liverpool are the champions. So, like James said, they spent 400 million. How on earth are they not the team like to beat?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But I think either way, 7 games in, you can't say it's Arsenal's to lose now because there's still 31 games to play. Like anything can happen. If it gets to 27 games and we're 15 points clear, then by all means it's Arsenal's to lose. But
I would love that. Do you know? I would just love an Arsenal title race where it's not where I have a heart attack each time every time we play.
Yeah, it's not possible. It is not. Even if we're 20 points clear with 10 games to go, we're still going to be twitching away. It's just not possible that we're going to relax and enjoy it until it actually happens. But I think either way, like when you sort of speak about the squad, last year when we're having injuries, we're bringing on Kieran Tierney, Raheem Sterling, Nathan Butler-Adedi. Like, do you know what I mean? That was our bench. Whereas this year, we're bringing on world-class players. And that's the difference this year. Like last year, we weren't in a position where to handle injuries. Whereas now, I mean, if we've got an injury, you're almost bringing in a player who'd start in arguably 90% of the other sort of starting 11s in the Premier League. The squad's phenomenal. It's the best I've ever seen. So, yeah, I mean, I think you can make an argument that we might have the deepest squad, but I don't think that means that it's ours to lose by any stretch.
Can we also just say it vindicates the transfer strategy by Berta, Arteta and the board this summer, because there was a lot of discussion about should we spend all the money on Isak or should we distribute the funds, 50 million on Gyökeres, Madueke, Eze, etc. And I think the way this season has started, we could really clearly see that if we did wait for Isak on that last deadline day, we'd have been left so short-handed.
Mm.
So this idea of if Isak's available, we get him. If not, then let's move on. That was definitely vindicated, I think.
That feels like a very Edu approach, doesn't it? That you solely tunnel vision on Isak. Look, again, Edu did a really fine job in some respects, but we also knew that Berta has done things differently with this, multiple deals in going at one time, and definitely the Isak one would have been. I think he would have put a lot of focus on that, given its size and complexity. I agree with you, James.
There's no way we have the points total that we do now if we just lump in on Isak.
Yeah. I don't. Well, we couldn't have done, because if you look at it, we lost Partey, we lost Jorginho in the midfield. You had Zubimendi already there, but that would leave your midfield really tight, wouldn't it, in terms of how you do things, and then your defense.
Well, even if I'm not being funny, look at it now. If you don't bring in Madueke, Saka got injured, so that's another position there where you didn't think we needed that player, but like James said,
and Isak wasn't even available for the first month. So if Havertz got injured and Isak was messing around, we'd have been Marino up front again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, geez.
Sterling back in on loan for another year.
But yeah, obviously we've done very well at these first few points. But I want to get your thoughts on some of the areas. So, James, what has been your main takeaway from this first period? Is there something that sticks in your mind? You think, look, this is what I've taken from these games. This is what I think has been the main talking point about the team in these 7 games. What has stood out to you?
I think just kind of clarity from Arteta. I think he learnt something really significant in these first 7 games, in that what he perceived as taking a risk, which is to play Eze in midfield, to play Eze and Ødegaard, or this more combative approach, that is not a risk, because by trying to score more than the opposition and relying on how good our defence is, we will win games more comfortably. The actual risk is playing conservatively and winning by 1 goal and then conceding a ridiculous goal and then scrapping out a 1-1. So for me, the single biggest takeaway has been this idea that it seems like Arteta has learned a bit about himself and realised the power of these players, that we are better than teams, let them express themselves and we will win games, rather than micromanaging with Marino and these fine details, which I understand his reasoning for, but clearly didn't work out.
So do you think, so I'm going to pull on that one just a little bit. Sorry, I'll come to you in a second. But James, obviously that kind of reference speaks to me about the Man City game, where we went into the Man City game, all of us felt that this was the first time in probably 5 or 6 years where we were going to be the dominant team against City. And we thought we're going to go for it. We've got the team to go at them. They've got issues. But we started off with the conservative midfield, if we call it that, or the stodgy midfield, as Joe has put it on a number of occasions, of Marino, Zubamendi, and Rice. Do you think that was a lesson learned for Arteta in that game, particularly? Because, look, there are times where Marino, Rice, Zubamendi is absolutely needed. But I don't think, and I think majority of the Arsenal fans, I don't know if you felt that way, it was not needed in that game because we had the beating of them. They went to a 5-5-0 at one point. Pep was not happy with how his team were going to look against us. What am I reading that right from you, James, or do you think look, it's something overall? But that game was just a trigger point almost.
Sorry, I'm lagging a tad. I do think there are contextual reasons as to why it unfolded the way it did, because if we started with Eze in midfield and they scored first, I think it would have been a similar game anyway. So he almost played Marino in midfield and then we got sucker punched. So the whole game plan was out the window anyway. So if he knew they were going to play that defensively, I'm sure he would have started Eze. The way things panned out, it didn't. But I do think what Arteta learnt that day is how dominant we are. And he thought that it would be quite an even game. But even when Man City, even before they scored, Man City stepped on that field as underdogs. And I don't think Arteta has really experienced that in big games in his career until now. He's used, and we can almost roll this all the way back to 2020 when we won the FA Cup. We went so pragmatic. We had 30% possession. Tierney would whip the ball down the left to Aubameyang, and we'd score really, really robotically constructed goals. Fast forward 3 to 4 years, we become more toe-to-toe with these teams. I think now we're getting to the point where we don't need to go toe-to-toe. We can impose ourselves on those teams and play our way rather than trying to meet in the middle. And I think hopefully Arteta's learnt from that game that City, and Pep said himself, he said we had to play like this against Arsenal. They were so good. We had to show them the respect. And hopefully we'll go into these games in future with this combative midfield and we will be on the front foot from the start and not give them as much respect as we did, because these players, man for man, are, I don't want to say the best in the league because I think Liverpool are really up there, but the way we're currently coached and kind of the solidity across every single position, I would have as best in the league. Other teams have more mavericks with Isak, Salah, these type of players, but pound for pound across the board, I think we are the strongest 11.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Joe, what's been your main standout takeaway from the start of the Premier League and the Champions League for Arsenal?
Probably similar to James's, so I won't sort of go over what he said because he's put it in a far more eloquent way than I ever could. But I think another sort of big thing for me would be if you kind of look at the table, head into sort of that last 5 minutes of the City game, and obviously how things could have been different. I think it just points to a fact that the league and the title race is never going to be straightforward. Realistically, we could have been 8 points off the top if sort of Newcastle and City had gone another way and Liverpool hadn't conceded 2 late goals. So that could have happened. I mean, if Liverpool hadn't scored late goals in the opening sort of 3 or 4 games they had, they could be miles behind us if we'd sort of got goals in late goals as well. So I think it just points to kind of going back to the discussion we had at the start when we talked about whose league is it, who's got it, who's going to throw it away, who's going to run away with it. I just don't think that's going to happen. And I think what you get from the media these days is very knee-jerk reactions to every result. Every result's either a nightmare or every result's sort of like a dream. There's no kind of just sort of consistent take throughout the year, going, okay, Arsenal are building along nicely. Okay, Liverpool have dropped some points, but it's not the end of the world. They'll be back. You don't really get that now. So for me, it's just kind of, I think the best thing we can do as fans over the coming months is ignore the mainstream media as much as possible, regardless of the results that come in. Because
Especially
if we
Paul
lose
Scholes.
one game, yeah, I mean, take your pick. There's plenty of them. But I mean, if we lose one game, you'll be hearing the media say, "Oh, Arsenal, they haven't got the mentality. They can't do it. They're bottling it again." And it's not that simple. But like, I mean, up until sort of the 30th game, it could go either way. Do you know what I mean? It's only once you get towards the end of the season you can start making these kind of analytical points in inverted commas. But no, I think it's just, for me, I've already tried doing it this year, and that's listening less to the build up on Sky Sports and listening less to reviews after games. I'll watch the 90 minutes and then I'll turn it off. And I find for my own mental health, it's a lot better. And I'm genuinely, and I'm able to kind of look at a game far more sort of pragmatically than if you listen to the mainstream media. You kind of buy into it and you almost get a bit influenced by it. So yeah, I think it's just an appreciation that it's going to be a long season. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs on the way, but we need to kind of be on like a constant rather than constant waves of up and down because it's just exhausting. And we've seen in years gone by how that's resulted for us come the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like the media have got a playbook of Arsenal, like paragraphs to write, bottle jobs, not good enough, etc. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the media hype, and obviously that's what they're looking for. They're looking for some kind of news article that will get the hits. It's not about what actually is there and the long-term view. It's more about this game. Oh, they didn't look like title challengers. That's it. No game will you look so spectacular every game. It's never been a title race like that. It's usually there's, as you said, ups and downs. But I want to touch upon so for both of you, was there a concern that crept up in the start of the season? James, was there anything that concerned you that you're like, we need to get a handle on that, we need to sort this out before the bulk of the Premier League gets going effectively?
Not much aside from what we've kind of discussed quite crucially, which was the Marino midfield situation. I suppose I'd still like to see us a little bit more free flowing with the chance creation. A lot of our chance creation continues to come from set pieces, which is fine, but for me, psychologically, that can sometimes be a concern because it got to points last season where we're almost playing for set pieces. And then you come up against a team who are really good at defending set pieces, and we're like, wait, this corner button isn't working. Like, what do we do? So that's one thing that I'd like to see us continue. Just focus on shooting more in simple terms, because I often see us play it around the box, and then eventually we'll cross, get a corner, and then play it that way. Sometimes these chances, especially when you've got players like Eze and Saka, just shoot. See what happens. And a lot of those shots will end up with blocks and a player will pick up the ball, or it'll end up in corners and we know what happens. So I guess that's the one thing, is just taking more risks in possession, because out of possession, we know we're good enough. I'm not concerned if they win the ball and start running at Gabriel and Saliba. I always say Galiba and Sabriel.
Galiba and Sabriel. It's those new players we bought, isn't it? It's those new players.
So yeah, basically take more risks and just trust what we have. But I think, kind of conjoining those 2 points, I think we've begun to do that more since we've moved Eze into the 10.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, what's been your takeaway? Are there any areas of concern for you from these first period in the league?
Again, I like James said, just that chance creation, mate, I think was the main thing that kind of all of us were sort of questioning, if you like, just saying, okay, we'll give them a bit of time, obviously, because there's a lot of new players in that system and it's going to take time. But you just want to see Arteta kind of let them loose, if you like, and just let these players really go, because if he does, someone is going to get a pasting from us. If it all clicks and if these players are allowed one day, if he goes, don't express yourself, there could be some crimes upon our hands. We could witness something quite horrible for someone. So There's that. And then the only other thing, injuries again. We seem to get a lot of injuries. I mean, I know it's not particularly this year. There's not a lot of overuse injuries in terms of like hamstring pulls and stuff. But I mean, we know Odegaard's been very unfortunate with his injuries. Calafiori, touchwood, so far has been okay, but we still seem to be picking up a lot of injuries. So that's the only thing that would concern me, is there something going on sort of on a day-to-day basis in the training ground, nutrition-wise? Obviously, that's so important now as well. Is there something we're not quite getting right, which is maybe just contributing to the injuries? Obviously, that's something as fans I don't think we'll ever really know. But it's just something to maybe consider going forward, and maybe something that the club need to potentially have a look at.
No, fair enough. I think it's a legitimate concern because, look, we've got a majority of our injuries have been hamstring. A lot of hamstring have gone. Kai Saka's, Kai Havertz is obviously still out with a hamstring injury. Madueke, again, was a ACL. Was it ACL or was it? It's an ACL, isn't it? It's an MCL. So MCL again. Is it our training? Arteta is a hard trainer. We already know that. That's part of what it is. A lot of rigor goes into that. But obviously, is that concerning? With Madueke, I think it's a different story. He played a lot of football, given that he participated in the Club World Cup and only had 2 weeks holiday. So.
I actually had a bit of an issue with that. I heard that he cut his holiday short because he wanted to get back with Arsenal early. Now, I think we told him hang fire a little bit, but I still feel like we should have said, look, for your long-term safety, have the full allocated pre-season and come back when you're fully ready. Because I know he wasn't playing every game in the Club World Cup, but we've seen Chelsea suffer a lot of injuries now. So we need to be uber careful with these type of things. And again, it's kind of been historical under Arteta. Players like Ben White, we've overused him in the first place and then long-term suffered from it. Yeah. So with Madueke, we don't want to have a similar situation. Let him fully recover and then come back into the team when he's ready.
And actually, I'm going to expand on that point just a little bit, because this is my standout takeaway of this period, is that Arteta's actually better now at pulling players off really quickly when there's an injury. He's taking zero risks now. I think Martin Odegaard was the first time I actually saw him when he sat down in the West Ham game, where he was kept on instead of taking him off straight away. And I think that was Odegaard's decision. But I'm more pleased with how less risk averse now Arteta is. He's saying, first 2 minutes, Saliba went down with an injury. He said, I'm not having it. Get Mosquera on. Even though Mosquera hadn't played, get him on, and look what he did. He is more confident in that squad, whereas in the years gone past, he's been really averse to dropping players in. He's not got any problems now with saying, look, let's take this player off and bring them in. Madueke got injured. That's fine. Saka has come back. And obviously, Bukayo Saka is, you're replacing quality for quality. But that the ability to do that and be confident in your squad that you're not going to be diminished is something I think Arteta's just got to now, rather than in the last couple of years. I think we're at that point where he's like happy with the squad. Once Havertz comes back, that's a big game changer for me, because I think Havertz, everyone slates him, but he's such a versatile player in multiple positions, not just if you call it the midfield, etc. He works in the half space. He works as a winger very well. So I can't wait for him to come back, and also to give Gyökeres a rest. Let me ask you then, for a bit of a fun one, who's been your standout player, James, so far?
So
who's been your, not standout, who's been your player? Who's been your player that you really enjoyed in this
so
period?
I think the two technical player of the seasons for me would be either of the fullback, Calafiori or Timber. Calafiori started off as our most important player. Timber in the last few games has been unbelievable. But for contextual reasons, I'm going to go for Zubimendi, because that position and in that role in this league is the hardest position to walk in and play. He has come in and essentially from minute one been an upgrade on what we already had and one of our standout players. And he's just changed our lives. And you could see how this system has been waiting on someone who's been able to do that. And because it is such a difficult role, you can't just grab these guys from the market for free. They don't come about very often. But Arteta last year went to Zubimendi, said, please, mate, please ignore the Scousers. I need you at my club, Arsenal. And somehow Zubimendi stayed in the Basque Mountains for another year and walked through our door this summer and has been a revelation. He's been so good for us, and especially in the West Ham game was kind of highlighted that most, where he came on for Ødegaard and was just everywhere. Like, you can see that even though he started well, he's getting better and better. His physicality is improving, and kind of understanding his role in the team and his relationism with Rice. It's super impressive for me.
Joe, who's been your player?
I wrote down 3 players and James has named all of them. So I think
name one. You got to go with one. Go with one. Go with one.
Seeing as James has gone Zubimendi, I'll go Calafiori, simply because I think we've all seen glimpses of what he can do, and I think we was all very excited at the prospect of what a fit Calafiori could do. And I think over this first 7 games, we've seen consistency from Calafiori, which I think was what everyone was waiting for. He's been amazing going forward. He's just been so unpredictable, popping up on right wing at occasions, popping in at the 10, steaming down the left wing. He's literally been everywhere going forward, really good on the ball. But defensively this year, when he's needed to, like, we had concerns. I think it was Liverpool, did we say, we was kind of debating whether MLS would come in to deal with Salah. And now, you look what Calafiori done. He locked him down. He's been unbelievable defensively as well. So I think over those 7 games, you've seen what Arteta has seen in Calafiori. And you've seen that defensively, he's outstanding. Going forward, he's outstanding. And if he can stay fit for the entire year and he just keeps building on how he started, then he'll probably comfortably be in the team of the season, I think, because he's been outstanding. And I think you might be able to fact check me on this, but I think he's something like he's got the second highest chance creation for Arsenal or something, and he's playing at left back. So I mean,
he's had the most shots this season.
He's had the most shots as well. Wow,
it's outrageous. He's unbelievable.
He doesn't care, does he? He doesn't care, does he?
He's just outstandanding.
No, do you know what? Both of your shouts are excellent. Do you know what? Zubimendi was my standout player because I just think he's as James said, he's changed our lives. He's just such a difference maker in terms of comfort, and Rice has been freed up. Rice looks, a lot. Rice was a good player, but he looks even better with Zubimendi next to him, just because he makes him better. But Calafiori as well has been equally as good. It's
just on that Zubimendi point as well. He just has a feel for the game which we've lacked before. Yeah. Rice doesn't have it either, to be frank. He's English, not Spanish, basically. But Zubimendi just knows when to speed the game up and knows when to slow the game down. And that has a transition effect to everyone else on the team. So we had Ødegaard before, but when you're not the central hub, it's slightly different. But Zubimendi, has kind of transmit that through the rest of the team. And now we can see in games more. When we're controlling, we're really, really controlling. And when we need to turn up the dial, we're doing that much more effectively. And we seem to know when to do that much better than before.
Yeah, he feels like that metronome. Martin Ødegaard has been a good metronome as well, but Zubimendi at the deep level as well. What I like about him as well, he knows his positional awareness. He knows when to drop back into the defence to perform that extra man when Calafiori goes on his exertions. He's so well. His analytical brain is unbelievable. It just feels like he sees the game differently from other players. Really good choices, guys. I really appreciate that. We're going to now look at some news. Obviously, we've looked at our first half of the season, but actually before that, I want to touch upon just briefly, what's your expectation for the second half? We're going into a little bit of an easier run. We've got games against Crystal Palace, not easy, I know, but we're calling them more winnable games, if we call it that. So James, where do you see, now until Christmas, or let's call it now until the next international break, we've got, if we look at the fixtures, we've got Crystal Palace this weekend, is it? No, this weekend it's Fulham. We've got Fulham away. Then we've got the Champions League with Atletico at home. Crystal Palace next Sunday. Brighton at home. Then you've got Burnley away. Slavia Prague in the Champions League away. Sunderland. And then the international break occurs, and then the North London derbies after that. James, those are it's a fairly decent schedule. I mean, the Atletico Madrid stands out because obviously Atletico are going great guns in the Champions League. But what's your expectation, just briefly? You know, obviously I don't want to dive too much into it, but what would your expectations be? Should we be looking to win all of those?
Essentially, yeah. And I know often people will say, "Oh, we're better than every other team in the league. We should be winning all of those." No team wins 38 Premier League games a season. But this short stretch of games, they are all very winnable. And even with the caveat of if our performance drops, we most certainly shouldn't be losing any. So maybe we'll draw one, but I would be disappointed if we draw any of those games.
Yeah, I mean,
I think considering our depth as well, we can afford to rotate in a game midweek and still be able to beat whoever we're playing. So yeah, I think we're capable of winning them all.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Fulham one. That's going to be a very interesting one because Fulham last year we lost, and we typically do lose at Craven. We don't do well at Craven Cottage. It's been a bit of a mixed bag for us. And Marco Silva's team is very good, but then you've also got to factor in we're playing Atletico in the midweek. So Joe, I mean, where are you standing with this period that's coming up? Should we be looking to win all the games, or are you kind of the look? It's the Premier League. It's still going to be difficult. I'm expecting, what a draw or a loss, etc. Where do you stand on it, or are we looking to win everything?
I don't think those points are exclusive. I think you can be both. I think you can appreciate that it's the Premier League and it's going to be difficult. But equally, if we want to win the league, I think we should be aiming to win all these games. Fulham away, Palace at home, the sort of in terms of the Premier League, Burnley away, Sunderland away. They're games that, I'm not being funny, if you want to win a Premier League, you should be winning them. So for me, I'd be disappointed if we didn't win them all. I see this as an opportunity now to put a bit of daylight between ourselves and Liverpool potentially, because they've got a trickier run of fixtures coming up. And last year we saw, unfortunately, when it was coming to these games where we should be winning, that's where we was dropping points. So that's why essentially we never caught Liverpool, because in the games where you'd want to win the game, get the points to sort of keep up with them, we were slipping up all the time, and that's why we just never really got close to them in the end. So this is a real chance for us now, I think, to, with Liverpool having a trickier run than us, is to build a bit of a gap, whether that gap is 3 points, 5 points, whatever it might be. I would expect us now to really kind of push on. And like James said, we've got the squad that's big enough now to deal with kind of rotating. Players aren't going to need to play all 4 games. There's not going to be the starting 11 every game. We're not going to play the same system in every game. So the opposition are going to find it harder to set up against us. And we've got a lot more options now to really go at these teams. And if teams are able to kind of do that deep block and make things difficult, we've got options to come in and change it, like we've already proven this season. So yeah, I think for me, mate, I want to see us now really push on. And yeah, I want to see us win all these games, to be honest.
So then let me ask you both, in what points tally, 5 games, what's your points tally at the end of that? What do you think?
15.
Well, yeah, that's what I like, James. I like that.
No, but I don't think it's not even this fanciful thinking. It's if we are going to win this title, we will need to get 15 points there. And if we drop any points, do it in the Champions League, because for me, that's where you can afford to drop these slight points. It's not ideal, but that's where I'd rather drop points at this point in the Champions League than the Premier League. But yeah, if we're going to win the title, we need to pick up maximum points from those in the Premier League.
Okay. Joe, for you?
I've already said it, mate. I want all the wins.
So you think 15 points for both of you? I'm going to agree with you. I think if you're truly going to go for the title, it has to be everyone has to be a win, because these are games that we would have struggled with, and you can't.
Man City and Liverpool would win these games when they're challenging for the title.
Yeah, we have to win these. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, let's move on quickly. We're running out of time because we love talking about Arsenal and it always gets us. Unfortunately, so Sammy Mokbel reported today that Martin Odegaard is likely to be out until after the international break, so he may make the North London derby. James, let's start off with you. This is not great news, is it? He's had a bad run of injuries, and it's not anything to do with his injury proneness, etc. He's just been unlucky, hasn't he, in these games? I mean, he's now out for about 4 weeks or so? That's not great, is it, for his season, and not for us either?
Yeah, the biggest shame and frustration as well is that he was actually just finding his feet.
He looked.
We kind of saw
that Olympiacos game. He looked so good.
Exactly. So I know that people will say he wasn't at his best form for Arsenal, but yeah, he was just starting to find his feet. We know he'd suffered from that ankle injury for a long time, gaining some momentum, and then he's out again, which is hugely frustrating. And I think even when he's not at his best, what he brings to the team and the squad is very, very underestimated a lot of the time. But we will have to cope without him, and there's a reason why we bought Emirates, and the next 5 or 6 games will prove that. And don't forget Ethan Nwaneri, who will be vital for these rotational games. We are blessed now that we do have top players who can stand in for him, but no doubt it will be a blow.
Joe, are you of the same ilk with James that this is a blow, but we've got now the capacity to handle his absence? Because in the past couple of years, if Erdard's gone, that's it. Our creative force is pretty much done, isn't it? In terms of the season.
I mean, if this was 12 months ago, we are all thinking our season's over, aren't we? That's the difference. And this year we're thinking.
Didn't we have that? We had this actually 12 months ago. We had this as well, didn't we?
What I mean. Whereas this year, Odegaard's injured, and you're going, oh, okay, annoying, but we'll play Eze or Nwaneri. So again, like we started off the show by saying, well done, Arteta, Berta and co. Like, you've changed our lives, essentially. We're now arguably one of our best players over the last few years is out injured, and we're just able to call in another world-class player or one of England's brightest young players coming through. He's been outstanding for the under-21s, apparently, Nwaneri. So he's looked very good as well this year, I think. I think he's looked a lot maturer when he's played in that number 10 role. So yeah, we've got plenty of options. We're still able to rotate in there. We're not going to be solely relying on Eze. Obviously, the majority of the burden will fall on him because he's a world-class player, but Ethan can come in and do a job in them games. It's not like we're asking him to come in and do wonders against a Liverpool, City, a Newcastle. They're all out the way.
Yep.
These are games where you'd expect someone like Eze and Nwaneri to be able to kind of show their class, if you like, and really make a difference in these games. So, yeah, I mean, the only positive to take from this is that it's 4 weeks and not what we all initially feared it might be, and that was another ACL, which could have been months. So, yes, it's annoying he's out for 4 weeks, but hopefully this is kind of his luck turning, if you like. And it's a bit of good luck that it's only going to be 4 rather than looking like another season out.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's been no fault of his own. Two impact injuries in the shoulder, and then obviously this knocking of the knees affected, which is another impact. But he's an absolute class player. He was looking very good again when he was coming back. And look, we've got quality players. Eze and Nwaneri, I agree with you, will both be needed in this piece. I think that Nwaneri's getting game time with the under-21s is a good thing because, look, he hasn't played as much as I'm sure he would like to, but he's going to play. There is no doubt he will play games this season. I think the key thing I have to, is if you're expecting to be a player who's going to play every game this season at Arsenal, don't, because very few players will play every game. I think it's shown that if we do that, we will burn these players out and you're going to end up worse. Ben White is a perfect example. Look, he's only starting to find some form now, and that's taken 2 years pretty much because on and off injuries, etc. So I think players just need to understand, look, we are all in this together. This is going to be a big fight and we've got plenty of games to get through. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how we cope without Odegaard, but I think we're better equipped than last year. Just finally, on our final point, the Emirates Stadium has obviously opened in 2006, but is starting to show its age a little bit against some of our rivals, if we call it that, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the new Everton Stadium, Real Madrid's refit, and now obviously the Camp Nou is about to be finished off. Obviously, the news has been that we are looking to renovate the stadium. And there is talk of obviously the options around that. Do we expand seating or add hospitality, etc.? But all of these will lead to some kind of impact on the fans. Either there is reduced seating or there's even a plan to move us to Wembley potentially, which is something we've done before. James, I'll start off with you. Do we need to upgrade the Emirates Stadium first? Is my first question.
I don't think we need to, per se. I think there's a lot of snobbery around there's not enough space in the Emirates because for the big games, no one can get a seat. I think after that period where everyone absolutely adored Arsenal, wanted to go to Arsenal in the 2022-23 season. I think now it is a lot easier than it was then to get tickets. And I think you do sometimes see empty seats, especially in, for example, the Champions League games. So this snobbery of, the stadium's not big enough at all, I don't think is necessarily true. But yeah, we could definitely fill a bigger stadium, and we want to be the biggest stadium in London. So Tottenham built their stadium a few hundred seats bigger than us. We can bat them down again and say, hang on a minute, this ain't right. Let's build the stand slightly bigger and show them what colour London is. So yeah, I don't think it's an absolute necessity, but the way this club is growing in commercially on the pitch, I think there's absolutely no harm in saying, let's capitalise on this success and continue to build in the stadium too, especially considering match day revenue makes quite a significant amount for the club.
So Joe, to expand on that point, because you and I are season ticket holders and we go to most of the games, do you feel that we are lagging a little bit behind in terms of not just size, but the experience of the Arsenal match day? That if you look at the modern stadiums, they're obviously ultra modern feel, there's different services, fan zones, all of these kind of things. The Emirates Stadium was built in 2006, primarily with the resource of hospitality and an upgraded, capacity. But now there are more demands on a club to provide, expansion of facilities, to have better, a better hospitality, better match day experience, those kind of things. Do you think, adding capacity is one thing, and we do need to, I feel, because, as we said, we all want to get tickets and we want our fans to attend and, to make those match day revenues for the club. But do we need, as a match going fan who's gone to the Emirates, week on week for the home games, do we need to expand those services as well? Is that something we should also be looking at? Because if we look at where the Kroenkes have put their major money, it's obviously been in SoFi Stadium where the Rams play. And obviously that is an ultra modern stadium that you just look at and go, wow, that's what I want as my stadium. If I look at the rest of the stadiums I've seen, I have not been as impressed with any other stadium as the SoFi in terms of its wow, just that wow factor.
Yes, mate. I think for me, I think the fact you can't be on your phone in the stadium, I think is shocking. Because I'm not being funny, like football is so interactive now, isn't it? Like any other stadium you go to, you're able to get your phone up, you're able to have a look at stats, you're able to have a look at replays of incidents. In the Emirates, no one's phone works. So you've got no connectivity in there for anything, basically.
You can't even check the results, can you? You can't even check the results.
That's what I mean.
At all.
You focus on the game, which is a good thing. But I think if we're talking about like a fan experience, you can't check results. You can't see what else is going on. I think that's not good enough. I think in terms of getting a pint during the game is an absolute nightmare. This season, more so than any other so far, I found. You literally have to go and queue up for just an extortionate amount of time. And the service isn't good enough. Like things like that, I think need to be improved. But I think for me, the thing where Arsenal, I think in terms of this stadium expansion, are looking to progress is obviously you've seen Spurs use NFL and all the other kind of stuff they've got going on with that Formula One thing that they do as well. And like that stadium is used all year round. Arsenal are obviously a bit hamstrung by our location. We're in like prime central London that you don't have the space around to build like a complex like Man City have done, for example. Arsenal are never going to do that. But I think that Arsenal, by modernising the stadium, maybe increasing capacity slightly, I think there is definitely a market there to be tapped into, and more kind of monetary funds can be generated from that. Because if you look at what Arsenal could potentially do, is what Spurs are doing with music concerts and all that kind of stuff. So there's so much money to be made. And I think that if you look at where Arsenal recently made additions to the board, I think you can clearly see they're thinking along the lines of, right, okay, real estate, how can we make this bigger? How can we make it better? How can it generate more money? So, yeah, I think that, yes, they want to improve it for Arsenal fans. In terms of increasing capacity, I would hope that it would be to include more regular seats, not more corporate. But obviously, that's something that the club, you'd have to speak to them about. I imagine it'd be corporate seats, but you'd like to see more people on a season ticket waiting list get the chance to come to games. So yeah, like we said, I think there's always room for improvement. If we want to be the best club in the world and sort of the force in English football, you have to keep up with your rivals. We know Chelsea are looking into trying to build a bigger and better stadium. Man United are obviously they're looking to do it. Liverpool have increased the stand up at Anfield. So other teams are doing it. We can't be left behind. We need to do it as well. I'll be honest, the thought of going back to Wembley sends a shiver down my spine because I remember making that journey for Champions League games. I remember Gabriel Batistuta tearing us apart.
We were there. You know,
Barcelona 4-2, like all these games. And
let's talk about that, Joe. Let's
before you go into this, Shem, the thing that scarred me most was I remember going to a game as a young child with my dad at Wembley, and he lost the car keys, and I was stood in a car park somewhere in Wembley for hours waiting to be retrieved by someone, and that is why I do not want to go back there.
Do you know what? I completely understand. So let me ask this question. Look, we're going to finish shortly. The two options on the table right now that are happening. The renovation will reduce capacity to 40,000, so there will be seats taken, most likely in club level, and then or that you go back to Wembley. Joe, you've already made your point very clear. You'd prefer, I assume, the reduced capacity at the Emirates rather than going back to Wembley and doing the train.
Getting to Wembley one day a year for a cup final
it's a nightmare.
Is an absolute pain in the backside. So the fault for having to do that like 20 times a season, I think.
And coming back afterwards. Mate, we've all been to Wembley, haven't we?
I can't even fathom doing that. So yeah, I've got no interest in going to Wembley.
So James, God, what's your choice then? You've been to Wembley. You've been,
it takes me 2 hours to get to the ground anyway, so it doesn't make a massive difference for me at the moment. Wembley would obviously make it easier for me to get tickets, but it is a hard choice because playing at a reduced capacity stadium as well, I think the atmosphere, I don't know exactly what effect it would have on the atmosphere, but I guess my conclusion is it would be easier for me to get to the game and to be in the stadium if it was Wembley. So I'm slightly biased on that front. But yeah, I never, and also our Wembley record is tremendous under Arteta. But yeah, the Emirates is our home. Like it would feel wrong and very un-Arsenal to play at Wembley. But if it means we get a 70,000 stadium or a 66,000 stadium, then maybe it'll be worth it.
The question is would we fill it? One word answer. Would we fill Wembley, do you think? Yes or no? From both of you. James?
No.
Joe?
For the big games, yes, but I mean, otherwise, no.
Agree with that.
Yeah.
I was done one word.
Hey, look, we all know one word in podcast doesn't mean that. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, we're going to find out soon because I think this is going to accelerate quite quickly, given that there have been board moves, as you said, Joe, to change this and get real estate experts. So I think we're going to find out very soon as to what we're going to be doing. But we are going to leave it there. The Premier League will be back this weekend, Joe. We're going to try and do a show before the weekend. I think we're going to try and do a preview show because we were lagging.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, mate.
Thank God, football is back. Real football is back this weekend. With us going to Fulham, which is always interesting, especially the boat ride there. If you're on the boat ride, wish you luck. Honestly, it's an interesting experience. But James, thank you very much for joining us. I really do appreciate it as always because I know you're a busy man. Always
Thank you
everywhere at the moment. If you want to find James, he's available on Twitter at AFCJXMES. Always tweets really interesting stuff. Even today, a very nice, very philosophical tweet. I thought today, James, I liked it. You're trying to make the world a better place, aren't you today?
Yeah, I used to ask some really boring and mundane questions during the international break. So today I wanted to allow other people to ask the questions and to see what people actually wanted to talk about and not Hazard versus Salah and Drogba versus Omri.
Oh, dear. Well, we like the Henry versus Drogba because Henry wins all the time. There's no doubt about that. Why are we even debating it? Joe, as always, thank you very much. We will be back for the preview show. You're going to get your chance to do the predictor game. I know the computer's still ready to do all of that. And
get ready to go, mate. All ready to show the world how useless we are at predicting scores.
All right. But thank you both. Appreciate it. If you do like the content, please do subscribe to us on all the platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. We're going to get the video out for YouTube. So we're going to see James's lovely face there as he gives his analysis. So we're going to put that together. But for now, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one of Red Lines, Half Spaces. Bye for now.